And I say, they say Obama's going to be tested. Is it going to be a showdown with Iran? Is it going to be a showdown with this country? The showdown for Obama is a showdown with the American people. The American people still need to stand up, and as people have suggested, including Schiff, I think this is a great campaign. There should be mass civil disobedience, mass walking away from these mortgages, and stick it to the bankers. Say, look, we're not going to pay these bankers. But see,
that's why they're putting Obama in as a puppet, so that everybody thinks there's been change when the very same financial institutions that really run things are going to continue. So for Obama lovers, you need to realize he's a puppet, just so your precious Obama doesn't get the blame. I agree he's a puppet, and he's not going to deserve the blame that's coming. But Max, I agree that the financial crisis is the biggest thing we face. But what do you think Biden and Powell and all of them, Brown, Merkel, Barroso, what is the crisis with them naming the date, the 21st, the 22nd? Powell, it's on Meet the Press, it sounded like a financial crisis. With all the others, it sounds like a military crisis. You've got your ear to the ground in a lot of high places. What are you getting told?
I'm hearing about a currency devaluation. The U.S. dollar gets devalued.
Yeah, and
the U.S. dollar gets devalued in one shot, just like you saw in other South American and Latin American countries.
And they've been holding that up for the election, which would show the establishment really was for McCain.
Well, that's one narrative. I just look at the numbers, and the numbers are that the U.S. dollar can no longer function as a world reserve currency. Our creditors in America are demanding payment in their own currency, Chinese yuan, Japanese yen. They don't want to play this game anymore.
Yeah, explain that to people. Explain that to the listeners, because you're international. You're in Paris right now, covering all this. The billions that the shareholders are getting and the billions that the CEOs are getting per company in the bailout money for themselves as bonuses, they're converting that to other currencies. They're buying real assets, aren't they?
Well, there's two questions. Yeah, number one, that's right. I think this pullback in gold and silver have given those people who are taking the bailout money, and they've basically trashed the precious metal markets, and I think they're going to be the biggest buyers of precious metals right now with America's bailout money. So as they devalue the currency, and that could be the big news coming out in 2 weeks' time, is that, okay, the U.S. dollar gets devalued. That means that stuff like precious metals are going to be jumping in price. And guess who's now going to own all the precious metals? Because all the suckers who got scared by the deflation scare sold out. I own a ton of gold and silver. I myself was questioning my own belief in my own work because the sell-off was so bad. I mean, and I've been looking at it for 25 years. Think of all the people out there who are not, professional, who are thinking, God, this precious metal story is not going to work. I'm getting out. I'm going to go back into the dollar. I'm going to go back into some of these other things. And now they're going to get wiped. They're going to get their clocks cleaned as the dollar gets devalued and these metals go a lot higher. The other question you're talking about, I think you're asking about, is the role of the dollar as the world reserve currency. Is that another question?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so since World War II, since Bretton Woods, and you hear leaders all over the world saying, we want a new Bretton Woods. What does that mean? That means a new world currency order backed by gold. But since World War II, the Bretton Woods has established a system where all the world's currencies are convertible into the dollar, and the dollar was convertible into gold. This went on until 1971, and then all the currencies became free-floating, and they all became fiat currencies. But still, all the world's commodities, like gold for one, but oil for another, they're priced in dollars. So if you live in another country, you live in China, you live in Japan, you live in Venezuela, you live in any other country in the world.
Stay there, Max Keiser. Got a break. So when they announce the new world monetary system, which the UN and the IMF have announced, they will then announce it's no longer the dollar. That will be the signal, and then we will be completely enslaved and totally bankrupt. I want to go to your calls on the election and what's happening on the economy. Max Keiser can speak to all of it. Well-versed guy. But, Max, they're going out to break. Do you think they're going to announce the 21st or 22nd? Well, I guess they're already announcing it. They say a new world order run by the banks, off the dollar, the very banks that engineered it now. I guess it bought up the world with our currency, and they want to leave us holding the bag. I guess we'll have to pay for it in taxes and in inflation. And then I guess we'll just be left with Obama's youth brigades to make sure we pay up.
Yeah, it looks like the talk around the world and in Europe is you keep hearing this phrase, the new Bretton Woods. That means a new monetary order they have to accommodate, they have to incorporate the fact that the dollar is just too weak. It's not going to. They've got to recalibrate the global economy in such a way that the dollar is going to be the big loser because there's too many of them. There are the money supply is just too great. There's no production in America. There's no jobs in America.
Yeah, the bankers took our money, devalued it to buy up real goods and services for themselves, build their new world order, and now they're going to leave us holding the bag. Max Keiser, how bad is it going to get?
Well, I mean, the U.S. is I mean, in terms of what? In terms of, how bad is it going to get for? I mean, think about it. The money in your pocket is going to be cut. The value is going to be cut in half. I mean, so you can do the math, figure it out yourself. Whatever you have in savings.
Yeah, folks, you think it's bad now? Notice GM's about to go under. They're saying, and the government says no money for you. But all these foreign bankers, oh, here it is. It's all for you, baby.
Well, it's just they're simply the way that they're going to get out of this, the way that they're going to approach this new Bretton Woods agreement. It's going to effectively devalue the currency. Look at the history of countries like Argentina, for example, is a brilliant example. America's going to go through the same thing. America's been telling the world, through the IMF and the World Bank and all these organizations, how to run their economies, accept these conditions, accept us managing your economy, and while they take all the resources and they destroy their economies. Now it's the chickens are coming home to roost. Now the world is telling America, we don't want your stinking U.S. Treasury government bonds anymore. We don't want your dollars anymore. If you want to borrow money, you're going to have to borrow it in Chinese or Japanese or European currencies. We're not going to take any more of your dollars anymore.
Max Keiser, the bottom line is it's going to get crazy. Go ahead.
Well, it's the U.S. lifestyle that has been developed over the post-World War II era is coming to a close because getting back to the world reserve currency, and how it works is that the U.S. when the U.S. needs money, they sell these countries bonds, and when the interest is due on the bonds, they simply sell them more bonds. So it's like you got a checkbook, and anytime you want something, you write a check, but the deal is the person who you wrote the check to never cashes the check. And this has been going on for decades. Now the rest of the world is saying, wait a minute. We're not taking your bad money anymore. You can't bounce your check anymore. We've seen the Hollywood movies. We know what you're about now. We don't want their bad money.
But, Max, let's go one layer higher. Let's go one layer higher. Sticklets, all of them going a new world order. The international banks will set the world's prices, the currencies, the stock rules, the banking rules, the brokerage rules. They're the ones that engineered all this and used America as their engine and as their bad guy and as their muscle. And then they're all up there smiling like Cheshire cats, posing as savers when they engineered it all.
Right. Well, that's why I'm saying to the people in America who listen to your show, why not stage a revolt? It worked in the 1776 period. Why shouldn't it happen again? As Jefferson said, democracy has to be refreshed every 50 or 60 years, no matter what it takes. And I'm saying everyone should be band together and say, you know what? We're not going to pay our mortgages to the bankers. We're going on a strike. We're not paying these mortgages. To hell with you.
All right, stay there. Max Keiser. We're going to be back in 1 minute and take phone calls immediately as we start the next hour. Bottom line, stuff's going to get rocky.